Well, hey everybody, it's HeapCVA. Welcome to my channel. Thanks for coming by. Appreciate it. We're in EmergeNYC or EmergeNYC. Take your pick. To me, either one is fine. We are sitting here, and I'm kind of glad that I waited. An update came out this morning. It was numbered 0.1.4, and I was trying to do a video on it, but my video was getting killed by the drop in frame rates, especially on the map and with some of the vehicles. And I just restarted the game again, just trying to get, I was going to bump it down to 30 frames per second just to get a video out, for crying out loud. And along comes update 0.1.4b. Woohoo! Maybe instead of being last, I might be at the front of the line finally, as far as getting something out. So before I fire off the game and get us all bogged down in dropped frames, let's talk about 0.1.4 first, which was this morning. It definitely came out earlier than I got out of bed this morning. I'm on the West Coast, so there were already videos made when I woke up. But anyway, mostly performance issues and bugs. Fix some issues with 32 engine, several issues with 32 engine, mini maps, sirens, headlights, etc. A lot of light fixes on many of the fire apparatus. Some of the vehicles had black coloring instead of chrome. He's working on that. He had a diamond plate in places where it wasn't on the squad. He moved one of the ambulances and worked on the police vehicles a little bit, NYPD. Worked on some of the stuttering issues that come with compartment use, especially on one of the towers. Finally, he hopes fixed the thing on 32 engine where the driver's side door was swinging open as you turned left. It's funny in a game. It's suck in real life. That's followed by a trip to the shops for repair. Stuff falls out of the fire engine when the door flies open like that. And hopefully not firefighters, just stuff. But you just don't like that happening on an incident. He tries to address massive lag a couple of ways. There was some lag coming out of opening compartments on the fire apparatus. If you had a bunch of compartments open with all of the tools that are on there, and the one that comes to mind for me would be the squad. But I can imagine the truck companies the same way, affected frame rates and dropped them. And then apparently using the turntable ladder mode sometimes started two cameras. Now, they must have overlapped each other, and you didn't see it as you were doing it, but there were two collections of the data occurring at the same time, and it just bottomed out as frame rates. So he addressed that. He did darken the emergency lights down quite a bit. In fact, from what I read, it was 50%. And, that was everything at that point. Now, the changelog that I found for 0.1.4b, I didn't find it on his Twitter. I honestly didn't look on his website. I don't think he updates his forum as often as he updates some of the more popular sites. But I'm on Steam right now in the community, and he calls this actually a patch, not an update. Fixed the trailer sliding, which, darn it, I probably won't get it in the video, but earlier, hook and ladder 75 was cockeyed in the fire station on its own, and it had crashed into 30 engine. And that made me laugh, if nothing else. And I was talking about somebody was going to have to do reports. If he fixed it, it may not be that way. And we'll go into the game here in a second. A lot of light fixes, traffic and weather fixes, headlights, especially in interior lights, and lowered the lighting radiation on the PD and EMS vehicles. Apparently, he had only done fire. I misread it the first time, and like I said, it sounds like 32 engine gets the most issues, but you can find. I'll put a link to this, just like I will put a link to his website, his Twitter, with these lists so that you can read them for yourself. Make sure I don't forget anything. He also makes some other comments at the same time, and sometimes he hides parts of the list, not purposely, but forgets to list it on the list, but then mentions it in discussions he's having with other people. So there's that. So keep your fingers crossed that we get good frame rates, and I can put a video together that I can get uploaded tonight and say that I'm at least on the same day, for crying out loud. So let's fire up the game and see how things go. Like I said, I don't have a junk computer. I got a high-end i7. I've got plenty of RAM. I have a 980 Ti. I've got more fans I know what to do with. It's noisy in here when things get ramped up. I just don't know what else I can do to at least get through the getting a video captured. I'm using open broadcast software. It definitely wasn't capturing at 60, and it's okay if it drops down a little bit, but I must have dropped down in the last video I made, and I get all the way to the end and rendered it before I realized it must have been capturing frames down way below 40 several times. So here's that flash. First thing he fixed that wasn't mentioned on the list, or if it was mentioned in a different way, is that noise that you heard, which was a door slamming as you came into the game and you were sitting here in front of 32 Engine's door. He took that out because it's not supposed to be there. So that's all good. So right now, if we toggle off all the fire apparatus, I'm over 100 frames per second. So I'm going to be careful this time around. I'm going to back out, and I'm watching frame rates as I do this. Right now I'm still over 100. But I want to come out here so you guys can see the map, and I want to talk about the map for a split second. The existing map the way it is. And remember the scrolling button, you roll and roll and roll as fast as you can just to back up. It's still pretty slow. So still high FPS. You know, like I said, I'll take what I can get, guys. If it's over 60, it's all good. But I'll try to be careful this time, and I'm not going to yakety a lot. So here we are. Let's open this. Let's get time and weather changed a little bit so we kind of eliminate the area real quick. And I'm out as far as I can go. So I used to think I was facing north when I started this particular tech demo. I've actually found that to be wrong, and here's why. On Flip Switch's website, they have a forum, and in that forum there's a few general conversations, not a lot of stuff going on. I think Steam gets the vast majority of the conversations, but somebody was on there, and what he did is he showed off and put up for other people to use is an awesome map of this island, which is Manhattan, basically just in a game form for other people to see and to use. And for me, not being from New York, but visiting there, but never driving there, I'm excited about it because it not only kind of gives me a methodology for figuring up and down and east and west, north and south, east and west, but knowing which streets go what direction, because he marks the one-way streets so that you can find both the main thoroughfares, north, south, east, and west, and the smaller streets, and it really helped me orient myself in the game. So technically, if I want to look left or north, I got to spin around and look that way. Now you can see a little bit of a FPS drop when I did that. We're still over 100, which I can do. My monitor runs at 144. I don't think it's really that, but I'll take what I can get. I wanted to talk about this space here because I think this is set aside for some stuff that's coming down fairly soon. Keep your fingers crossed. It's a part of the map that's got considerable room and definitely could do with at least one firehouse, probably two, and maybe some other stuff that we'll talk about later. So right now I'm just flying over the city. If you hit the shift key, you can speed that up. Do I know if I want to do that? It still says 170, 170. So let's slowly tiptoe over here because I want to come down. Whoa, and I hit that, the C button goes right back to 32 engine. And I found that out earlier, but there's too many things to explain as to why I'm so clumsy. Let's just let it say that I pushed the wrong button and leave it at that. What I'm trying to do is, you know what building I'm heading for. And I'm going to zoom down to it. And it really takes a while to get there because the scroll wheel works so slow. You see the fire first, and then this. Let's see if I can get this right. And what I want to do, and the button is very touchy, is do what I didn't do in the last video, and that was go in this room. And you can tell, you can hear his phone ringing. The door's open. I busted it open or something. So here I am in the room. There's the fire in the window, which I am joking is just a curtain fire. It's not a room and contents fire because nothing in the room is on fire. But if you picture yourself being one of the personnel on the apparatus, hopefully someday, you'll come in this room. Hopefully that the heat and smoke are shown in the game. You'll get down on your knees or whatever, drag your hose line in here and knock this fire down. You could have a hose line, you could be the guy on the nozzle, you may even be on the truck and be one of the water can firefighters. And those of you that don't know what a water can is, it's a water extinguisher that's carried. They use it for knocking down spots, and believe it or not, they are very talented at putting out quite a bit of fire with a 2.5 gallon water extinguisher. So I just wanted to show you what it looks like from the inside out. And so as we go back out of here, that's what that's all about. So let's talk about this map just a little more. There's a couple of maps out on Flip Switch's regular website in their forums. And what I'm doing is hovering over the park right this minute. I'm going to spin this away and go north, just to talk for right this minute. The person designing the maps, his site name is Max Steele. And I'm going to give him a shout out because the maps are cool. I'll include them in my video for you to see. You can see the map that I use anyway. I'm not going to do all the maps yet because, quite honestly, he's still working on them, and it's his release, not mine. But it certainly helps for those of us that need a little orientation to a big city like New York. You know, I live within 50 miles of Los Angeles, another large city, but we just don't have the density that New York City does. So I can zoom out a little further. But anyway, what I want to do, let's talk a little bit about what's going on here, and I'm dying to see if we can actually see some of the fixes, especially that came out late this evening. Oh, well, it would help, number one, if you toggle on the fire apparatus. Now, right this minute, I'm at 75 frames per second. Keep your fingers crossed that things... Okay, so there's the brightness of the apparatus emergency lights. Not too bad. I'm going to pull it out on the ramp. Let me go into the front seat. Aha! He fixed this. Earlier today, for those of you that don't know, there was an issue where when you came into the driver's seat and you were going to sit down, you would be, and let's see if I can do it, you were zoomed in this close to the dash. And I was trying to figure out where in the world I was at because I couldn't hardly recognize anything. And what I found out is that he's actually included a zoom feature for driving the vehicle. So we're going to pull out. We really don't need the lights. I just wanted to show them to you. And so here we are. We're stopped. Now I'm out. I'm going to get a little closer. And you notice that as I hover over the doors, it's not blue anymore. But on the roll-ups, and I've checked this rig and engine 30, the roll-ups are still functioning on these two engines. So I'm going to shut the rig off. And let's go to 66. Let's get in the rig. At least we're zoomed out first. Oh my God, was that hard the first time. Okay, we'll get out. Here's 66, ladder 66. None of the compartments are opening. So for right now, he's pretty much disabled it. So that's that. That was the biggest thing. Some of the light issues we're not going to know until we really start driving these and paying attention to what else is going on. I don't know. So the headlights are on by default. I think that was one of the things he was talking about. Obviously, he hasn't gotten to them all yet. Let's go over and see hook and ladder 75. Darn, he straightened it out. I'm kidding you. I was at this angle, and the tiller trailer was clear over behind 30 engine. And it just made me laugh. You know, it's not a big thing, but it was, you know, funny at the time. It's not as funny now, honestly. I'm just happy to get a video out. But as we sit here parked next to these rigs, you'll notice none of the stuff is opening. Excuse me. The outline of the generator that was showing over here on the door is gone. He fixed that. That was one of the things on the list. Let's run over to Rescue 9. As you can see, we're still clipping through the station a little bit. And as you can tell, none of the doors are opening here. Let's go around back. I'm going to get a little closer. Nothing going on. And that's fine. I get it. That's the way it should be. If we look at 78, the roll-ups are still opening. The compartments are empty now, though, which they weren't before. And so that's the way that he's dealing with this for right now. Obviously, the ones I looked at, and Let's go inside the cab here, and then we'll go out the front. I want to see if we have, okay, when I started the engine, the lights are on. Kinda, I guess they're on and off. The headlights still look on to me as I shut the rig off. Let's see, 78. So right now you can see the lights are off. If I fire up the rig, the lights come on. There's the LED emergency lights for it, which I kind of like. They're pretty cool. So we shut those off, and we shut the rig off. We get the lights on the roof to go off, the cowling lights. We still have the headlights on, and I imagine if we spun around, I don't see the rear lights on, so there's no brake lights illuminated. I don't know if that's supposed to be like that or not. So, I mean, these are detail issues. They're not big things in the grand scheme of things yet. Let's go back, go to NYPD. I'm going to head over for the Discoverer, which, let me untoggle one. We'll toggle on the other. I dropped down a little bit in FPS, but not too bad. Notice the light on the top of the vehicle is illuminated. And I don't know. See, it's weird that I'll pick the other Discoverer and zoom in on it. In the V position, we're still sitting on the dash. It is what it is. You do zoom in and out, but you're still sitting on the dash. There's the steering wheel, so I've missed that a little bit. So we got to go back in. So this one did fire up. That's an issue that I was noticing earlier. And it kind of goes along with the whole thing, which I did see him mention that he's going to do a follow camera kind of thing so that you don't have to continuously try to follow the back of the vehicle with your mouse, which can cause issues on its best day. And like for me with a dual monitor system, if I get it on the other monitor and then click the mouse button, I actually drop the game to the see, we dropped down to 100 FPS right there. So I don't know which vehicles are really doing it, but let's just stop here. And what I'll do is I'll go ahead and redo it. So hopefully we get back. There we are. Kind of panicked me for a second. And we'll close this, and we're back to this station here. So I think you've seen what I was trying to explain to you on that. The list has got some depth to it. A lot of work's being done. I can imagine for every one thing you fix, another two things go south, because they're all kind of tied together, and you got to figure them out one at a time and then track each one to its source. They're all the same vehicle. It's just telling the computer, you know, just because I hit this button on this engine, don't do it for every engine that's like this in the fleet, if you will, or however the computer game sees each individual engine, which, you know, just like with mods in Emergency 4, 911 first responders, each rig has like 5 different files to track everything that vehicle does, that may be different than everything else or the same as everything else on the map. So that's that. As far as things that are on the map, and I zoom back out, see right now I just dropped way down. So let me toggle off the I don't know if you're going to see that in the video or not. I dipped down into the 40s FPS wise, just coming out to a far away view, and then I wanted to zoom in on the station like this. It's not going to work for me because I got to deal with the thing anyway. Is let me do this real quick. I'm going to first things first. Change weather because we got dark all of a sudden and I want it to be light. Back, change vehicles. Let's go to 32. I got to fire him up. See, we're still at 100 FPS right now. Now, sometimes when I click on him, it doesn't necessarily work the way I want it to, but that's okay. What I want to do, I got to get this right because the brake on this thing isn't as. See, when I set that brake, it should stop that rig like you threw out a boat anchor. So here we are at 66. It did fire up the rig. So we're going to pull that one out on the apron, or that's what I call it actually. It's we're not moving, are we? No, we're not moving. Let me get back to 32. I'm going to shut the unit off, and we'll go in here. I'm going to actually get me on the dash here because he's kind of crooked on the door. So there we go. Those rigs are out. And what I wanted to do was get a perspective view on the station itself. I may not be able to do it per se. I like that one a little better. So what you can do is, and I might have to be attached to an apparatus. There we go. And now I can do this. And so I want to have this view here to talk about some other things that that Flip Switch discussed, in addition to the update / patch that's come out, which is going to cause me to change my document too that I created. But I deleted that thing because it was giving me fits, and I can't make the rigs go away because that would mess up the purpose of having these here at all. So some of you may have seen it, and it's been on both Steam and his Twitter, is he is starting to talk about the Fire Academy. And I'm thinking that open map space that you saw when I first started the map is going to be the location for the buildings that have to do with the Fire Academy, which I am absolutely excited about beyond anything I can think of. So I want to put some pictures up. There's the original models of the building, the single building, and there's 3 pictures of that. And then you start to see some of the texturing that occurred with the same buildings and the interior of the buildings. And finally, you see the exterior shots of both the Fire Academy buildings and the setting that it's sitting in with apparatus and personnel next to it. And it's like, wow, I could have fallen out of my chair seeing that. And well, I'm wondering what he's going to do for police and EMS. I'm sure there's got to be something. I'm absolutely excited about that. If you think about it, I was wondering how in multiplayer you were going to make assignments and get people to learn their position. You know, in FDNY, every seat you sit in has an assignment attached to it, depending on which seat you sit in on a given shift. And so one day you may be the hook guy on the truck, and the next day you're the can guy, which is the water extinguisher, like I said. Or on the engine, you may have the nozzle, or you may just be humping hose, or doing something else, depending on the number of personnel on your engine. And so you have to know how to do those things. And it's nice to know them before you go on your first fire. So I was wondering how they were going to do on-duty training, basically, to teach people how to raise the ladder on the truck company and how to pull hose, or maybe operate a pump if you get to do that in this game, or drive, especially because the way these vehicles drive right this minute, you have to be extra careful. And I was wondering how that was all happening. With a fire academy grounds, that question, it answers itself. And it's just unbelievable. And for somebody like me that was on the job for way longer than I want to admit, the thought of that fire academy building is just another thing that makes me sit on the edge of my seat waiting for this tech demo to become a game and then become a finished and released game. I can't think of anything more exciting, to be honest with you. So I know I didn't do a lot of driving today. In fact, I don't believe other than pulling rigs out of the barn, I didn't do any driving. The purpose of this vehicle or this video was not to drive. That is not one of the issues right this minute. All of the vehicles still drive about the same. The Q siren on 32 here seems to do exactly what it's supposed to do. To me, it sounds fine. And I've heard a few of them in my life. I know a lot of fire apparatus in new FDNY still use an electronic siren, depending on the age of the vehicle. So it's all out there, and it all has its sound and it has its place in the game. So don't be distraught by the bugs and the stuff that happens in the game. Take it with stride, knowing that he's working hard on all the stuff. He's stepping it up and doing his best work, trying to make sure everything works as good as it can, knowing that we're still into 2017 before we see anything close to a game release, or at least a high-level early access game. I'm okay with that. There's enough to keep me busy, if nothing else, just to look at the scenery, and I hope you're doing the same. There's a lot still to go, and being impatient will not make it go any faster, as I've said before. So I think I pretty much covered what I wanted to cover in this. The map is a big thing to me. If you're thinking about it, go to their Flip Switch's website and check out that map from Max Steel. Check out Steam and Twitter for Flip Switch to check out some of the pictures. I've included some in this video, but he's always putting other stuff up. I can hardly keep track or up with him because he moves so quick. To get an idea, and I'll include some of those with this too. And on that note, thanks so much for coming by my channel again. I hope you're having a great time wherever you are on the planet, whether you're in the daylight or the night or in the dark. Hopefully you've had a good day or having a good day. I'll get back to hopefully making this into a video that everybody can see that doesn't have lag spikes in it. And I'll see you in the next video, which at the rate that he releases stuff will probably happen here pretty quick. So take care.